The Tale of Urashima by Lafcadio Hearn. 1400 years ago, the fisher boy, Urashima Taru, left the shore of Seminoye in his boat. Summer days were then, as now, all drowsy and tender blue, with only some light. Pure white clouds hanging over the mirror of the sea. Then, too, were the hills the same, far blue soft shapes melting into the blue sky, and the winds were lazy. And presently the boy, also lazy, let his boat drift as he fished. It was a strange boat, unpainted and rudderless, of a shape you probably never saw, but still, after 1400 years, there are such boats to be seen in front of the ancient fishing hamlets of the coast of the Sea of Japan. After long waiting, Urashima caught something and drew it up to him, but found it was only a tortoise. Now, a tortoise is sacred to the dragon god of the sea, and the period of its natural life is 1,000, some say 10,000 years, so that to kill it is very wrong. The boy gently unfastened the creature from his line and set it free, with a prayer to the gods. But he caught nothing more, and the day was very warm, and the sea and air and all things were very, very silent. And a great drowsiness grew upon him, and he slept in his drifting boat. Then, out of the dreaming of the sea, rose up a beautiful girl, robed in crimson and blue, with long black hair flowing down her back, even to her feet, after the fashion of a prince's daughter 1400 years ago. Gliding over the waters she came, softly as air, and she stood above the sleeping boy in his boat, and woke him with a light touch, and said, "Do not be surprised. My father, the Dragon King of the sea, sent me to you because of your kind heart. For today you set free a tortoise. And now we will go to my father's palace in the island where summer never dies, and I will be your flower wife, if you wish, and we shall live there happily forever." And Urashima wondered more and more as he looked upon her, for she was more beautiful than any human being, and he could not but love her. Then she took one oar, and he took another, and they rowed away together, just as you may still see off the far western coast, wife and husband rowing together when the fishing boats flit into the evening gold. They rowed away swiftly and silently over the silent blue water down into the south till they came to the island where summer never dies and to the palace of the Dragon King of the sea. There, strange servitors came to receive them in robes of ceremony, creatures of the sea, who paid greeting to Urashima as the son-in-law of the Dragon King. So the sea god's daughter became the bride of Urashima, and it was a bridal of wondrous splendor, and in the dragon palace there was rejoicing. And each day for Urashima there were new wonders and new pleasures, wonders of the deepest deep brought up by the servants of the ocean god, pleasures of that enchanted land where summer never dies. And so 3 years passed. But in spite of all these things, the fisher boy always felt a heaviness at his heart when he thought of his parents waiting alone. so that at last he prayed his bride to let him go home, for a little while only, just to say one word to his father and mother, after which he would hasten back to her. At these words she began to weep, and for a long time she continued to weep silently. Then she said to him, "Since you wish to go, of course you must go. I fear you're going very much. I fear we shall never see each other again. But I will give you a little box to take with you. It will help you to come back to me if you will do what I tell you. Do not open it. Above all things, do not open it, no matter what may happen, because if you open it, you will never be able to come back, and you will never see me again." Then she gave him a little lacquered box, tied about with a silken cord. But Urashima comforted his bride, and promised her never, never to open the box, never even to loosen the silken string. Then he passed away through the summer light over the ever-sleeping sea, and the shape of the island where summer never dies faded behind him like a dream, and he saw again before him the blue mountains of Japan sharpening in the white glow of the northern horizon. Again, at last, he glided into his native bay. Again he stood upon its beach. But as he looked, there came upon him a great bewilderment, a weird doubt. For the place at once was the same, and yet not the same. The cottage of his fathers had disappeared. There was a village, but the shapes of the houses were all strange, and the trees were strange, and the fields, and even the faces of the people. Nearly all remembered landmarks were gone. The Shinto temple appeared to have been rebuilt in a new place. The woods had vanished from the neighboring slopes. Only the voice of the little stream flowing through the settlement, and the forms of the mountains were still the same. All else was unfamiliar and new. In vain he tried to find the dwelling of his parents, and the fisherfolk stared wonderingly at him, and he could not remember having ever seen any of those faces before. There came along a very old man, leaning on a stick, and Urashima asked him the way to the house of the Urashima family. But the old man looked quite astonished, and made him repeat the question many times, and cried out, "Urashima Taru! Where do you come from that you do not know the story? Urashima Taru? Why, it is more than 400 years since he was drowned, and a monument is erected to his memory in the graveyard. The graves of all his people are in that graveyard, the old graveyard, which is not now used any more. Urashima Taru! How can you be so foolish as to ask where his house is?" And the old man hobbled on, laughing at the simplicity of his questioner. But Urashima went to the village graveyard, the old graveyard that was not used any more, and there he found his own tombstone, and the tombstones of his father and his mother, and all his kindred, and the tombstones of many others that he had known. So old they were, so moss-eaten, that it was very hard to read the names upon them. Then he knew himself the victim of of some strange illusion, and he took his way back to the beach, always carrying in his hand the box, the gift of the sea god's daughter. But what was this illusion? And what could be in that box? Or might not that which was in the box be the cause of the illusion? Doubt mastered faith. Recklessly, he broke the promise made to his beloved. He loosened the silken cord. He opened the box. Instantly, without any sound, there burst from it a white cloud, spectral vapor that rose in air like a summer cloud and began to drift away silently into the south, over the silent sea. There was nothing else in the box. And Urashima knew then that he had destroyed his own happiness, that he could never again return to his beloved, the daughter of the Ocean King, so that he wept and cried out bitterly in his despair. Yet for a moment only. In another, he himself was changed. An icy chill shot through all his blood. His teeth fell out. His face shriveled. His hair turned white as snow. His limbs withered. His strength ebbed. He sank down, lifeless, on the sand, crushed by the weight of 400 winters. Now, in the official annals of the emperors, it is written that the boy Urashima went to Elysium in a fishing boat. After this, there is no more news of Urashima. Then, the annals announce that 400 years later, the boy returned, and presently departed again, none knew to where.